In skateboarding, there are some tricks that don't really look the best, and then there's other tricks that look absolutely amazing. Today, we're going to go over the best looking tricks in skateboarding. Now, it's super hard to decide which skate tricks look the best because there's so many tricks out there, so if you feel like any good ones were left out, go ahead and leave a comment of your own list of tricks, and let's just see which comment gets the most likes. A few weeks ago, I made a similar video on the worst looking skate tricks, and you guys absolutely loved it. So if you enjoyed this one, be sure to drop a like on the video, and with that said, let's get right into it. Nollie inward heels, along with their fakie counterpart, are one of the sickest looking tricks out there. There's just something about both Nollie and fakie inward heels that works perfectly. When people do them, the roll-up always looks cool, it seems like it's impossible not to pop them super high, and because of the way it flips, the board is automatically tweaked right before it gets caught. Out of all of the tricks on this list, Nollie inward heels are probably the most slept on. I guarantee that if you were to ask a group of people what the best looking skate tricks are, the majority of them wouldn't mention Nollie inward heels. This isn't to say that the majority of people don't think they look good, it's just that a lot of people don't think about it right away. It's somewhat understandable because it's a pretty uncommon trick. They're one of those tricks that people either can't do at all, or they're super easy for the people who can do them, but either way, you have to give someone props when they do a good one. Even though it's not a super popular trick, it wouldn't be an exaggeration to say that most people respect it. Aside from being one of the best looking skate tricks, kickflips are also one of the most popular. After all, no one ever yells "do a shove it" out of a car window. That's partially because it's the only skate trick that people who don't skate know about, but still, even within skateboarding, it's a really popular trick, and it's always nice to see one done properly. Since they're usually the first flip trick most people learn, the average skater has years to develop their kickflips, which leads to a wide variety of kickflip styles. There's kickflips that are lofty, kickflips that are tweaked, there's shifty kickflips, and basically everything in between. There's a lot of pros who are even known for their kickflips, and I'm not going to say whose are the best, but go ahead and leave a comment on who you think has the best kickflips because it's always interesting to see what people say. Compared to most other flip tricks, kickflips are pretty standard, but that's also why they're such a solid looking trick. They're the go-to flip trick for gaps, flipping into grinds, or even flipping out of grinds, and there's so many different styles of kickflips that all look amazing. When it comes to the best looking skateboarding tricks, Treyflips are definitely high up on the list. The same also goes for fakie trays, but it would be a bit redundant to mention them separately, so for the sake of this list, we're going to group them together. A tray flip, also known as a 3 flip, also known as a 360 flip, is one of the more common flat ground tricks out there. The weird thing about tray flips is that because they're such a good looking trick, people do them all the time, and because people do them all the time, they actually get hated on. I know a lot of you are probably wondering, how can you ever hate on a tray flip? And trust me, I completely agree. With that said though, it does make sense why some people think they're a bit overdone. Tray flips are a great looking trick to throw in a line or down a gap since they're easy to catch when you're going fast, so they are done a lot more than most other flip tricks. Considering how common tray flips are, it's understandable why some people think they're a bit played out, but that doesn't take away from the fact that they're one of the best looking skate tricks. Tray flips are one of those tricks that are so good that even if you've seen it done 1,000 times, it still looks sick. Another one of the best looking skateboarding tricks are varial heels. Varial heel flips take two of the most basic skate tricks, a heel flip and a front shove, and turns them into a beautiful creation that's perfect for doing down gaps. Compared to a lot of other tricks, varial heel flips are pretty easy to pop high, so a lot of times they can look nice even if you're not that good at them. Generally speaking, most varial heel flips look somewhat similar and you can't really add your own style to them the same way you can with other tricks, but it's always nice to see a solid one done. They look extra nice when the front shove is just a little over rotated and then brought back. The weird thing about varial heels is that most people agree it's a good looking trick, but a lot of people hate on varial kickflips, which is basically just the same thing in reverse. If you think about it, this doesn't really make sense, so let's just end the hate on varials right now and agree that all varials can look good in their own way. It would be wrong to make a list of the best looking skateboarding tricks without mentioning impossibles. The way impossibles wrap around before you catch them always looks super sick, especially if you can pop them high. It's also really cool how a lot of the time your feet land close together, which in a weird way makes them stand out from a lot of other tricks where you naturally land bolts. One thing worth clearing up here is the difference between an impossible and a 3-shove. Most people know that impossibles tend to go hand in hand with 3-shoves since the board does the same motion, but despite what some people may say, there is a difference between the two. People have different standards for each, but usually impossibles are scooped and they wrap around your back foot, while 3-shoves are popped and your back foot stays above the grip the entire time. So regardless of what some people may say, there is a difference, and if someone tries something slick when you're playing skate, you should definitely call them out. 3-shoves can look good, but most people would agree that impossibles look way better, and depending on who you ask, they can also be a lot harder. Another one of the most stylish tricks in skateboarding are Nollie flips. This is kind of cheating, but it was too hard to choose between Nollie kickflips and Nollie heel flips, so we're gonna group them together for this one. When they're done right, Nollie flips look really sick, and similar to normal kickflips and heel flips, there's a ton of ways to do them. The cool thing about Nollie flips is that even though they're a bit harder to level out or tweak, it's also a lot easier to shifty them both frontside and backside, which looks just as sick. With that said, even though Nollie flips can look absolutely amazing, if they aren't done properly, they can also look absolutely terrible. Even though they're a bit basic, when they're done properly, an ollie is definitely one of the best looking skateboarding tricks. Ollies are essentially the bread and butter of skateboarding, and it's the foundation of almost every other trick, so it's one of those tricks that you have to appreciate. Some people might think ollies are bland and boring, but realistically, a lot of the biggest moments in skateboarding were ollies. Moments like Jeremy Ray ollieing the water towers, or Jaws ollieing the Lion 25 are things that every skateboarder knows about. Since ollies are the foundation of basically every other skateboarding trick, it's usually the go-to for jumping down anything that's big. There's also a lot of different styles of ollies, so it's not like other tricks where there's only 1 or 2 ways to do it. Regardless if they're considered basic, ollies are without a doubt one of the best looking skateboarding tricks. A Backthree isn't just one of the best looking skate tricks, but it's also one of the hardest skate tricks, at least when it comes to flat ground. Of course, there's hundreds of flat ground tricks that are way harder, but when it comes to just the normal tricks that aren't variations, as in no gazelle flips, no Merlin twist, or anything weird like that, Backthrees are definitely one of the hardest tricks on flat. They're especially hard when you're going fast, which is why they get so much respect when someone can do them properly. There's a few different styles to Backthrees, but they all essentially fall under one of 2 categories. There's the kind where someone scoops most of it and reverts the rest of the way, and then there's the kind where someone does the full 360 and lands with all 4 wheels at once. Most people prefer the latter, but realistically, both styles look pretty sick, and it's rare that you'll see a Backthree that doesn't look good. It wouldn't be fair to mention Backthrees as one of the best looking skate tricks without also mentioning Fronttthrees as well. Even though Fronttthrees look completely different from Backthrees, they're still really sick in their own way. Fronttthrees aren't nearly as common as Backthrees, but when they're done, they almost always look super proper. It seems like the biggest reason Fronttthrees aren't done more is because for most people, Fronttthrees are even harder than Backtthrees. With frontside 360s, you have to push the board in front of you rather than behind you, so it takes a lot more work compared to a Backthree where you can just scoop it all the way around. Similar to Backthrees, there's a few different styles of Fronttthrees, but the 2 main types you'll see is where people slide on the ground or do the full 360 and land with all 4 wheels at once. Again, both versions can look cool, but most of the time, people prefer when the board is popped and you get the full rotation before landing. Either way, it's a nice looking trick. Over the past few years, backside big spins have become super popular, and it's widely agreed that they're one of the best looking skate tricks. As far as flat ground tricks go, there aren't really any other tricks that even look similar to big spins. Well, maybe bigger spins, but that doesn't really count. Backside big spins are one of those tricks that can be done on almost anything. They're great as a standalone flat ground trick, or down a set or gap, or even into a rail or ledge trick. Nowadays, big spins can be a little overdone, but either way, they still look amazing. The way people scoop them around always looks super sick, and honestly, if you can do back big spins, it's pretty hard not to make them look good. When it comes to deciding which skateboard tricks look the best, it's really all subjective, and everyone is going to have a different opinion, so you should really just do whatever tricks you want to do. It is fun to talk about though, so if you think any good ones are left off, go ahead and leave a comment so other people can see it. This list was super hard to make, and there's so many other good tricks worth naming, so let me know what you think in the comments. Be sure to leave a like on the video, and with that said, thanks for watching.